Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Ambassador of Japan.
Mr. Aziz Memon, members of the English-speaking Union of Pakistan, and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank very much for the very warm introduction by the President of the English-speaking Union, which probably is more than what I am. And one thing which I'm always afraid of when I deliver some lecture or something is that how many will get into sleep during my lecture. And today I think we have more than 100 people, but please get into sleep if what I'm talking is not interesting. So don't hesitate to sleep. That's before I say anything, that is my only request. The theme is the Japan-Pakistan relationship, 65 years and beyond. But let me start by saying something about my last meeting with Mr. Imran Khan, the head of the PTI. That was last Friday. And what I made clear in front of him was two holes as a matter of our basic approach towards, or basic policy towards Pakistan. First is whatever the government will be formed here in Pakistan, we will continue to support the economic development of Pakistan. That is the first ever thing which I made clear. And also I was saying to him that as far as I understand, the basic principles of PTI include transparency, law and justice, social equity, and some building up of social infrastructure, such as education, schools, healthcare, and drinking water, and so on. And what I was saying is that these are exactly what we have been trying to follow in all the business or assistance in Pakistan. So I believe that that it should be even more relevant for us to say we do respect the new government, and we do like to continue to support the economic development of Pakistan. And second thing is that we have been very good in our relationship between Japan and Pakistan since 1952. To be strict, even before that, since before that, but still there are a lot of things to do more, and the potential of our relationship is far from being utilized in full. That's what I have been always thinking since I started my working here. And so what we have been considering is to strengthen more the relationship and more exchange of people, particularly at the level of political figures. And in this context, there was a visit of Foreign Minister of Japan earlier this year, and followed by what we call high-level economic consultation, which was held in April this year, where we discussed a number of possible projects with the counterparts of Pakistan government in relation to economic development. And also we do like to enhance more the parliamentary exchange as well. And we have some plan to talk to Senate already, and after the formation of the new assembly, we will discuss the members of the assembly as well about the further exchanges. And so that's something which we do believe should do. And today, having said all this, just a little bit refer to the history of our relationship. And I'm sure that some of you know much better than I do about our relationship, particularly about the business relationship. But as I understand, the relationship between Japan and Pakistan since 1950s could be divided into two parts. The first one is from early 50s up to late 1990s. And then after the early years of 2000 years up to now. The first part is the part where we, of course, established diplomatic relationship, and the core of the relationship was economic transaction. Economy, I think, was the core of the relationship. As you probably know, immediately after, 1 year after the partition of Pakistan, already 1948, we had an economic mission from Pakistan to Japan. And in the following year, we sent economic mission to Pakistan. And in 1949, already we started our trade before we established the diplomatic relationship. And in those days, we imported cotton mainly from your country, and we exported spindles to Pakistan. But that was very important for us, because in those days, the textiles was one of the most important industries in Japan. But after the war, it was very difficult for us to get cotton. Of course, China was the biggest exporter and biggest producer of cotton, even at the time as well. But there was a war with us, and still no diplomatic relationship between us. And Pakistan was one of the very first countries who kindly lifted the, or I should say, started the export of cotton to Japan. And we exported in return the spindles, and that was a very big contribution to our industrialization of our country. And then we established and we made an agreement on several very important treaties, such as Friendship and Commerce Treaty and Treaty for Avoidance of Double Taxation and so on, which should be working as the very basis for the economic development, relationship between us. And also another thing regarding the economic development assistance, Pakistan is one of the very first countries for whom we started economic development assistance. 1954, probably some of you know this, we started what they call Colombo plan, and this is the time when we started the technical assistance to Pakistan, not only Pakistan, but with other countries, but Pakistan was one of the very important countries for us. for providing this technical assistance. In 1961, we started grant aid, and 1970 we started yen loan. And in 1990s, Japan was the top donor of the for Pakistan. And in that way, our relationship had been getting in the positive. And in late 1990s and after that, there are two very significant events that happens. One is nuclear test of Pakistan, and second is the war on terror. And what was very symbolic was that in 1998, in March, we were very close to the agreement of the for the treaty for protection of investment between the two countries. And in May, as you know, took place the nuclear test. And so this agreement was suspended at the time. But after that, after September 11, people recognized, of course, including Japan, the very important role to be played and have been played by Pakistan for fighting against terrorism. And early 2000 years, namely 2000 from 2 to 5, those years were the years for us to reconsider the assistance to Pakistan. And 2005, we resumed the yen loan again to Pakistan. That was when former Prime Minister Koizumi visited Pakistan. And so these two events were sort of working, let's say, into the different direction. But anyway, to me, it's very good for us to have been able to resume our good relationship between our two countries. And some people say that after the nuclear test, the economic investment from Japan to Pakistan has been reduced and never been back again. But that is not true. Yes, of course, in the early 2000 years, it was very low level. However, later on, Japanese investment to Pakistan had been actually growing. In 2007, if I may have a look at my material, 2007, the FDI from Japan was $131.2 million, and that had been growing. But there was the third significant event happened between us. That was the terrorism, or very deterioration of the situation in terms of security somewhere here in Pakistan, and that was really the impediment for the Japanese investment. Not so much just a political sort of event, but security matter was the most significant impediment for the investment. So, investment is to be made on the basis of the very economic calculation, with some consideration of politics, but not altogether only by the politics. But security matters are very important for them. And then very happily, and I'm very glad to see the situation, particularly since the middle of 2010 years. Security situation here has been dramatically improved. And so now is a time when later on I'll talk about this a bit in detail, but Japanese business is trying to expand more the economic relationship with Japan in accordance, I believe, with the improvement of the situation. So this is where we are, and one of the important element, I believe, of this second part of the relationship is that not only economic relations, but also some political elements are also regarded as very important topics for us between Japan and Pakistan. That includes fighting against terrorism and stability for the region, not only here in Pakistan but also in the region, and also the stability of the sea lanes, fighting against the piracy and so on. So that's where we are. We have been fairly expanding our relationship. And just a couple of things more about our history when I look back over the past 66 years. One is that as time goes, we, Japan, have been more and more vividly realizing the significance of or importance of Pakistan for the stability of the region, not only of Pakistan itself, but stability of Pakistan is the very important factor for the improvement of the stability of the region. That's something which we have been realizing very vividly. And the second thing is that as far as economic relations is concerned, or investment to Pakistan is concerned, security has been one of the most serious concerns for Japanese investors. But luckily enough, or I should say, due to the very hard work by Pakistani people in fighting against terrorism, the situation has been improved very much. So I do believe that there will be more investment coming from Japan. So how much time can I use? Okay. Probably I had better make some remarks about some specific issues which might interest you. The first, the CPEC or OBR. One, as far as I understand, one of the very typical mistakes or typical misunderstanding, I should say, among the people or among some of the people here is that Japan is against CPEC or against OBR. That is not true. What we have been claiming, what we have been telling anybody here is, first, we hope very much the CPEC will be implemented in the full and effectively for the sake of, or for the profit of Pakistan. Not for anybody else. For Pakistan, if CPEC will be working for Pakistan very well, that's very good for us, and we could do together with that. But in order for CPEC or any projects to produce a fair amount of benefit to Pakistan, we believe that there should be some principles which the projects should be based on. Those are transparency, economic viability, or following the established international standards, and those very fundamental principles, I believe, is very much important for any project should be based on. That is what Prime Minister Abe also made clear last year, I think in June. That's, we believe what is most important is those fundamental principles on which any project should be based. Sometimes I was asked or even told by the governmental people that Japan should take part in CPEC. And whenever I was asked like that, my response was, yes, but tell me how we can. You know, whenever I ask Japanese business people here, have you ever seen any of the notification for the open tender or the CPEC or anything? And the answer has been always no. You know, I'm not criticizing anything, but that is the reality. And as far as I understand, there is a very specific procedure for the decision-making process of the projects, and that's something, you know, we are not saying that is good or bad, because this is understood as the projects between Pakistan and China. And so that's, I think, is the general understanding by the third countries. But as I said to you, what is most important is what kind of projects, what kind of principles should be applied for any project which will be of benefit of Pakistan. So that is the most important. The question is not whether we take part in CPEC or not, but what is important is what kind of project we should proceed in order for us to work for mutual benefit, but particularly for the benefit of Pakistan, because projects will be implemented here in Pakistan. So that's what I like to say about the CPEC. And second, about the trade. I do understand that one of the most serious problems or issues which the government of Pakistan is now facing is the trade deficit. In other words, the shortcoming or shortage of foreign reserve. And in order to expand the export, what should be done? That is something which have been considered here in Pakistan, and that has been one of the most important topics for our consultation with Pakistani side as well. And if you look at the trade balance between Japan and Pakistan, it's well, overall trade volume is something like $2 billion. But if you export one to Japan, we export, say, 5 or 6 to Pakistan, and so huge gap. And so how we can improve the situation here? Of course, the foreign account should not be focused only on one bilateral trade relations. You should always look at the whole countries with whom you are trading. But if I just focus on our relationship, we have been talking a lot with the Ministry of Commerce and other respective ministries here in Pakistan. But the one thing I like to tell you is that we have been proposed a lot of times of getting into the negotiations for FTA, free trade agreement between Japan and Pakistan. And we, of course, have not yet been made a final decision. And also, we will have the new government, so we should probably talk with the new government shortly about this. But my sense is that, to be honest, I do not think that the FTA, at least now, is not good for Pakistan. It could be of benefit of us, of Japan, but I don't think it is good right now. It could be, we could consider a bit later, but not right now, because as I said to you, the trade structure between us is one export Japan, Pakistan, 5 or 6 export from us to Japan. And if you don't change this structure and get into FTA, what could happen is very evident. That's what I'm saying again and again to the government or people here. And there are some precedents with other countries, as you know. The most important thing is how to change the structure of the trade and then get into, say, FTA. And we have one more issue which we should consider very seriously when we are when we talk about FTA between our two countries. That is the regulation of the WTO. You know, there's different rules applied to the economic relationship between among the developing countries and among the developed countries, or between developing country and developed countries. This is only the definition in the WTO, but Japan is defined as a developed country, and Pakistan is defined as a developing country, and China is defined as a developing country. And it is much easier for the relationship between or among developing countries to get into a partial agreement, say for reducing the tax tariff for, say, 20 or 30 items. That is possible, and that's exactly what happened between your country and Indonesia very recently. Indonesia, I think, reduced or almost zero, I think, for 20 items to import from this country. That is good. However, that was possible because both countries are defined within the WTO rules as developing countries. But if we do that, we will surely be filed to the panel, and we'll be losing. That's for sure. And we are sometimes talking about early harvest program. Yes, early harvest program is included in the rules of WTO, but that is possible only after we agree to the almost all the reduction of the tariff, say over 90% or something, without the agreement about the reduction of tariffs across almost all the items. It is not allowed for us to get into the early harvest programs. That's where we are. And so what we do believe is there, at least for the moment, we believe we could do, for instance, the first, well, by the way, it is not our work, and totally within the hands of the Pakistan government, but more flexibility to the currency could be considered by the government of Pakistan. Also, as I said to you, that's not our work. and we shouldn't say anything about that. But that is for the short term, and for the mid to longer term, we do believe that, as by the way is described in the manifesto of a PTI, the diversification of exporting goods and exporting more highly value-added items to not only to us, Japan, but also to all over the world. And also, thirdly, I do believe that the let's say to grow more the import substitute industries like chemicals or steels, and you have a huge potential for doing that. And I know, and some of you are also aware, there are some companies, foreign companies, including Japanese companies, who are interested in working for that. And all these measures, I think, should be taken. And one of the important things is to change the structure of trade and industries here in Pakistan, although it takes time. Now, more than 50% of the export is textiles. And I would never say that you should reduce the export of textiles. You should export more the textiles. But what I believe could be done by Pakistan is you would export more others, and to produce other items more, and to export to other country, while producing more and exporting more textiles. And in that way, overall pie of the export will be grown, and the structure will be bit by bit changing. That's what I believe can be done by Pakistan, and I'm very much happy to hear your comment on this. But this is something which I like to tell you about the trade. May I say one more, or stop it? Okay. So I've got. I could say more, but I had better stop it here, and I'm very much happy to answer any of the questions. Thank you.